What's up, everybody? It's me, Jan Almasy, host of the Apex podcast. I bet you're wondering why you're not hearing Jacob Popio announce the guest of the show this week. I am going to announce the guest of the show, but first, I need to talk to you about something. Running this podcast, unfortunately, costs money. We have to pay for a domain, we have to pay for a website, we have equipment, and other things that we need to be able to purchase to keep putting out content. So in order to help support the podcast, we're starting what we're calling the Patreon campaign. It's through a company called Patreon. You can find it at www.patreon.com/the Apex podcast. We're also going to put the link in the description on the Facebook posts, LinkedIn, and all other social medias. Basically, what you do is you go to the Patreon page and you pledge to donate a certain amount of money every month to help support the Apex podcast and JJD Thoughts as a whole, as we continue to grow our motivational outreach, our leadership-based interventions, and the Apex podcast. I would be absolutely honored if you took the time to even check out the Patreon campaign. Go to the page. There's a full description of what we're trying to do, who we are, and what we're trying to build. If you've enjoyed the content and you would like to see us produce more, we need your help. With that, I would like to introduce our guest for the week, Mr. Kurt Wolfe. Kurt Wolfe is a DJ in our local area here in Ohio, and we're going to talk to him about why he believes that music is the best possible way to connect with people. We're also going to talk about how he took out a $40,000 loan, then dropped out of college to start his own business, and what it felt like to chase his passion with that amount of money over his head. Honestly, he's a super successful individual. It was awesome talking to him and getting his opinion on what it takes to really be an entrepreneur. So with that, welcome, Mr. Kurt Wolfe. I would like to open up this podcast with a quote directly from our guest that I found absolutely awesome, and I think will be a great transition into today's podcast. So, quote, "Music is incredible. It can move thousands upon millions of people at a time. It has the power to transform lives and build people's spirits up. To be a part of that feeling is unlike anything in this world. Being able to provide the people with an uplifting, positive, and fun atmosphere is the greatest feeling you can have. At times, I step back and look around at my crowd, and I get chills from everyone dancing and having a fun time to the music that I'm playing. It's a feeling you just can't beat." End quote. With that, I would like to introduce our guest of the day, Mr. Kurt Wolfe, a.k.a. DJ Wolfe. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Jan.
So let's just start out with that. Let's start out with that quote. How did that come to mind? Where did that come from? And why did you pick that as kind of the faceplate for your website? Because that's kind of the first thing that really stuck out to me that was you.
Sure. So, essentially, people always, people will ask me, why do you, why did you get involved with the whole DJing and whatnot? And what do you really like about it? And so essentially with the music and everything, moving people is and making people dance and smile, and just essentially move to your music is a feeling that you can't really get with any other sort of job. Essentially, a lot of your people are 9-to-5 jobs, or they go to work in the morning and then they come home in the afternoon, and there might be some smiles and stuff at work, and you might have made someone laugh or this and that, but essentially with DJing, I have even had people who have came up to me and been like, "Man, I was having such a rough day, and then we came out here and now I'm having a better time." And just being a part of that and being able to change someone's day and emotions and stuff like that, or just that's you can't beat that. You can't beat putting a smile on, whether it be a bride's face or anyone coming into a bar or club, just dancing, having a good time, whether they're acting like goofballs or not. You really cannot beat that feeling. And you're a part of that, and a main reason for that. And your music essentially speaks for itself, as far as everyone, moving and dancing to your music. So it's awesome. Just absolutely love it.
And I think that's a really cool way to describe it, because there's not a lot of people that I think would associate that mentality to a DJ, if that makes sense. So you're looking at people, you're talking about it as almost like an outreach kind of, where you're like,
Right.
People can come to this place, whether it's at the wedding or at a bar, at a club, or wherever you decide you're going to put up your equipment, and they could be having a super rough day, and they come in and start listening to you, matching songs up and meshing them together and doing your own thing on the beats and everything like that, and feel it inside of their souls, really, and just kind of uplifting them to a totally different plane of existence than just what was happening throughout that day.
Yeah, absolutely. It allows them to get away, essentially, and just for, even if I can take someone away for even 5 minutes, having a rough day, or I don't even know, God forbid someone passed away in their family or something like that, and I can take them away from that hardship or that rough times, then that's an amazing, essentially kind of like a little mini miracle, I guess you could say, in my eyes, which is really neat, and I get to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's back up and talk about how you got to where you DJ now. Just kind of outline, I don't know, where you grew up, what it was like where you grew up, and kind of a path that led you from, let's say, point A to now standing with headphones around your neck.
Yeah, so I grew up actually right down the street from Walsh University, Uniontown, Hartville area. A lot of people actually don't know that, especially I'm sure a big part of my following doesn't know that. I graduated from Lake High School and lived in Uniontown, Ohio, and was a little bit, I guess you could kind of say a little bit of a country boy, in a sense. We're not really necessarily city, but we definitely have the country surrounded by us and whatnot. But
I grew up down in Canton South, so I live right on the borderline. My parents' house is really the first kind of rural property between like suburbia and basically people that own hundreds of acres.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's definitely I can definitely vibe with the Uniontown.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks. But it's kind of neat because you get really essentially at that location of Uniontown, Hartville, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You're literally right in between both Akron and Canton, which is really neat. But it's just kind of nice because you get the best of both worlds. I kind of like to prefer myself as a mutt when it comes to, people ask, or people might say, oh, I'm a city person, or, oh, I'm a country boy, or whatever. I'm essentially kind of a mutt. I'm kind of a combination of all that. I got a little bit of the city in me. I got a little bit of the country boy in me, which I think honestly kind of translates into my music as well, because I also love country music, but yet I also love my hip hop and rap and R&B and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
so.
if you're ever in the car with me, if I were to just put my my phone on shuffle, it would be like, okay, we're gonna jam out to some Dean Martin and big band, and then we're gonna go over and listen to some Alan Jackson, and we're gonna listen to some old school Nelly and 50 Cent.
Yep.
Like, there's no predicting where it's gonna
go. No, absolutely not. Yeah, that's the same way. All my Pandora stations are hysterical to look at. They really are. They're hysterical to look at. But grew up in Uniontown, Hartville. Blessed with a great family, mother, father, brother, and sister. Phenomenal people, very supportive, they were nothing short of amazing. They both my mom and dad are very supportive people, very loving. Grew up in a Christian household, Played a lot of sports. I was also a very big athlete, which is, again, another thing that some people kind of forget. I actually went to Tiffin University, 2 hours west, and played soccer there first semester, but then transferred back home. But yeah, from Uniontown, Hartville, and just looking to make a name for myself.
Right. Man, I feel like moving from when people associate like going to college and stuff, and I guess this is kind of the same feeling that I had when I moved from Canton South up to Walsh, where I was like, oh, Walsh is huge compared to, I graduated with like, I think 118 kids, something like that, which Lake is massive compared to Canton South.
Yeah, sure.
But I moved up here and I was like, oh my gosh, 3,000 students? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you going to Tiffin is probably around that same vibe, but then I know people that like went to Kent State or go to Ohio State, go to like WVU or some of these bigger schools, and they're like, yeah, we've got 20,000 plus people. And I'm like, holy crap.
Right. Yeah, no, when I, like you said, Lake's a pretty big school. It's a little bit smaller of a school in the Federal League compared to, your Jackson or your Perry or your Glen Oak or whatnot. But, it's a decent sized school. But, actually, the funny thing you say about that is actually Tiffin is really not that big of a school. It's bigger than Lake High School, but it's really not that big of a college. So going there, I kind of essentially the reason why I transferred out was because I really didn't feel like I was at college, and I wanted to feel like I was at college. So I transferred over to the University of Akron and went there for 3 years, I believe.
So what'd you end up getting out of Akron with?
So that's the funny part. So ended up going to college, and I don't know if I would necessarily say that I regret it, but I sort of regret it. It's not that it wasn't a great university or that I didn't have, the time of my life. It was awesome. Great university. University of Akron's awesome. I know sometimes people can give it crap sometimes, but it's an awesome university. It really is. And, but I didn't end up finishing out because I started this company, because I started this DJing company. So I didn't actually even end up finishing out. And, at first my father was kind of, a bit hesitant about it and was like, are you really sure you want to do this? And I said, and I looked at him straight in the face and I was like, Dad, I promise you, put trust in me. Like I promise you I got this. This is, I'll be able to take this thing really far. You watch. And I said, you give me about 2 or 3 years. And I said, I'll be making more money than you make a year at Cisco Food Service. And he said, all right, well, he said, I'm going to be supportive of whatever you do, but I hope you're right. And I hope this works out. And it was just kind of funny because, hopefully, right now I'm on track definitely for beating him out for salary-wise for the year. So, and he's been working there for over 25 years. So, it's now it's just all about the hustle. But essentially, yes, it did. I didn't essentially get anything out of the University of Akron. I wish I would have gotten my degree, but I still got about a year and a half left if I wanted to finish out. But to tell you the truth, I kind of make a lot more money right now than if I were to get my degree.
Right.
so I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
What led up to that transition point to starting at the university, or maybe not even necessarily starting, but what can you look back at your career progression and kind of pinpoint a day where you were like, I'm going to start this LLC?
Yeah, actually I can. And that's, it's actually really wild. So you and I were actually talking about jerseys earlier as we were walking up here. And so it was Hall of Fame weekend of, I want to say like around 2013 or so, 2014. And it was Hall of Fame weekend, and I was playing out at Jersey's patio, or on Jersey's patio, and having a long shift there. I think it was like an 8-hour show or something like that. And I was sitting there and I was playing music or whatnot, but for whatever reason, I started thinking to myself, like, man, like, why not do this on your own? Like, what is stopping you from doing this on your own? And because at the time I was working for a DJing company, so let's kind of retrace there. But at the time I was working for a DJing company based out of Canton, and then that kind of spiraled into eventually me going out on my own and starting my own company. But I would say at that time, I don't know what it was about that day or being out on that patio or whatever, but I looked out at the crowd and I just was thinking to myself, like, I know I could do this. I could do this for a living. I just was blessed to be able to be good at it. And to be trained well. And so I thought to myself, well, you know what? Heck, man, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to do this and I'm going to rock it out. And I'm the type of person, was the same thing with me in sports. I always was a leader out on the, whether I was playing soccer, basketball, baseball, football, it didn't matter. I just have that leader mentality in me. I don't like to lose, definitely do not like to lose. And I don't quit. I will do anything in my power to succeed.
Right.
And that's just who I am. I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, that's just now, obviously with playing sports, like if I went and played a game of basketball and I lost a game of basketball, I'm not going to, I don't really necessarily care. But when it comes to me and my personal self and succeeding, I mean, I really, really push myself.
And that right there is where I think there's an important dichotomy, right? Because people can be so focused on winning that they can't lose that basketball game without freaking out.
Right.
Or they can't accept a loss where it may not actually be a loss. It may be a lesson that you were supposed to learn and you need to keep moving forward. It's just kind of reframing that mindset of what a loss actually is, but not accepting less than what you're capable of.
Right.
I think is the important piece personally.
Right.
Where that leadership mentality that you just talked about is knowing what you're capable of, the path that you can be proceeding, what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. Because I think deep down we all have that little voice that's like, oh, you didn't wake up this morning. Or, hey, you should be going to do this.
Right.
And if we ignore that little voice, then we feel like crap about it because we ignored it. And then we go get ice cream and we feel like crap about eating ice cream. And then it all kind of spirals downhill.
Yeah.
But if you have that mentality where it's just like, personally, when it comes to decisions that I make day in and day out to determine whether I'm going to be successful, I'm going to listen to that little voice.
Right. Right.
And I'm going to push it.
Yep. And you're right. And you got to. You have to. And you can't. Going back to the school thing, the reason why I didn't succeed in school was because I procrastinated and because it wasn't in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But if there are things now when you're out in the real world and you're not in school, whether it be high school or college or whatnot, and now you are in the real world, you got to do the little things, like you said, like that little whisper in your ear, like, don't eat that. Or, I gotta remember to take the laundry. It's something as simple as taking the laundry out of the washer or dryer or something like that. You gotta. There's little things, and I know that it sounds kind of silly, but those little things make you feel like you have accomplished the day. Like at the end of the day, you can say, okay, I accomplished this, and this, and I did all these different things, and it just helps you feel good. And then the next day, you build off that, and it's just a constant building. But
you gain momentum.
Yeah, you gain momentum. Right. And
people don't think that you can build up bad momentum, but you can definitely build up bad momentum where if you're not taking the laundry out when you're supposed to, and then it stays in there and it gets moldy.
Right. Right.
That can build up bad momentum in a different direction. And it's hard for people that have built up that bad momentum for such a long time to start. You have to literally walk upstream to get back to neutral.
Yes, you do. It's just like working out. It's like when you work out. I used to, believe it or not, now skinny and scrawny now, but I used to actually be pretty darn big. I mean, I got stretch marks under my armpits. I used to lift a lot, and I was really got really big before I went to college, which was random because I ended up playing soccer, so it was like I ended up losing it all anyways. But
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, you got massive to go play soccer.
I weighed about 25, 30 more pounds than what I do now, and just put on a lot of big muscle mass. And my father's a big guy. He's a really solid dude. If you looked at him, you'd be like, holy
Just a
smokes! Like
brick house.
he definitely used to, because he played semi-professional football. So
Gotcha.
So he's a big guy, and I mean, as far as just the little things, like you said, just mounting up, I mean, it's just so important. And, I really do believe that I got a lot of my competitiveness and my leadership and my not willing to, lose and stuff like that, and my work ethic from sports. I really did learn a lot, and that's why, I hope, whatever my child someday wants to do, that's perfectly fine. But I hope someday my child definitely wants to, whether it be a boy or girl, wants to play sports. So
have you ever heard of Admiral McRaven? Do you know have you ever heard that name?
No.
So he was an admiral, right?
Okay.
He may still be an admiral in the Navy. I don't know. Someone will correct me on it if I'm wrong, but he gave a speech at University of Texas graduation, and he also wrote a book called Make Your Bed. And he basically said exactly what you said about the little things piling up, and then you're able to check something off of your list.
Sure.
Where he said, if you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, you've accomplished the first task of the day.
Right.
And then if you come home and you had a crap day, you come home to a bed that's made and ready for you to get in to go to bed.
Right. And you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You feel good. I mean, I couldn't agree any more than, with that. But yeah, I mean, that just all builds into it, and then you're constantly hustling. This, especially, with when you have your degree. There's a buddy of mine that also didn't get his degree from the University of Akron, and he's one of my best friends, and him and I both, we kind of, in a sense, like the fact that we didn't get our degree, because we think to ourselves, okay, I can't just sit back and rely on my degree to push me forward in life. Like, I'm going to push myself in life, as opposed to having a paper or a diploma that tells me I need to, or that
you're already like pre-qualified. Almost.
Yeah,
you have to prove to people that you're qualified.
Right. And it just allows me. Plus, it allows me to push myself, because I look at all of my other friends that have their degrees, and they have maybe their bachelor's degree, master's degree, or whatever. And for me, it's, even though it's not a competition and it should not be a competition, in my head, I like to think to myself, okay, I need to beat him out as far as salary wise, and
right.
and it's not a competition, and it should not be that way. But
I'm just because like you think about that inside of your own head doesn't mean that you're imposing that on the other person.
Right.
As long as you're not walking into like a Super Bowl party and going, "Hey man, I made $80K last year. What'd you make?"
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Then
you don't
you're
want to be
good.
that guy. Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to be
Nobody
that guy.
likes that guy.
Right. No one likes that guy. But yeah, no, I mean, but that's the thing, is we just, him and I both, we like to push each other, because we both don't have our degrees, and he's an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur. And so, it's just kind of neat that we went out and started our own companies, and now succeeding. So
that's a cool mentality that I think that people with degrees, sometimes fall into the trap of saying, "Oh, I have this bachelor's degree now. Cool, I'm good.
Right,
I'm done."
Right.
I actually said that in the speech where I kind of talked about. For those that are just tuning into this episode, I gave the senior address at Walsh University graduation ceremonies 2018, and in that speech, one of the things that I said was, imagine if like this day and this degree were the absolute peak of your life.
Right.
Are you just going to take this degree, hang it up on a wall, point at it, be like, hey, I did that, and then that's it?
Or are you going to apply
or are
it to
you going
something?
to apply it and move forward? Are you going to pursue that master's? Are you going to like push yourself in the job field to be the best possible bachelor's degree, whatever it's in, in your job field? That should be your mentality. Is just, it's not going to hang up on a wall. Yes, you can be proud of it, but if all it does is look pretty, then it's not. You spent $100,000 for a fancy piece of paper when you could have gone to like a picture shop and got a cool picture for $50 and it would have looked better in your living room.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. And I mean, think about all the thousands, millions of people who have their degrees and they don't even do the job that they went to college for.
Right.
I mean, think about that and how ridiculous that is. And to tell you the truth, man, I really never had. I always wanted to be a professional athlete, to tell you the truth, but just was honestly never physically big enough.
Right.
You can only put your body, so I can't grow anymore. I stopped at about 5'8", 5'9", so I think I ain't gonna go to the NBA or anything like that.
Right.
But as far as like the diploma and everything goes, like in no shape or form am I telling people not to go to college. I think everyone should go to college. I think it definitely does help people, but I think there is also an alternative, and I like to be that like alternative route, or that
the path less traveled kind of
thing. The path less traveled, because I feel like odds are against me and I like to prove people wrong. I love proving people wrong.
Ooh,
so that's a challenge to me. That's what I
that
love.
mentality right there, just like, I mean, that just made the hair on my arm stand up a little bit, where it's like, oh, people think I can't do this.
Right.
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That is me all the way. And might come from it definitely comes from sports, but also might come a little bit from, the smaller man syndrome or whatnot. Like, oh, you can't do it or whatever. Yeah, okay. You want to see? I'll prove you wrong.
That's funny.
But yeah, no. I think a diploma is definitely a great route to go with. But
and I mean, whether it's, I don't think it's necessarily the diploma. Like what you said, that college is good for everybody, and I think that just any avenue that causes you to gain more knowledge is good for everybody, whether it's college, if it's like going to RG Drag and getting a welding certification. For those of you that don't know, RG Drag is like a technical school in our area, or getting your certification for electricity, being an electrician and being a plumber, anything that takes your knowledge basis to the next level, whether it's academia or it's a trade, is good.
Right.
The pursuit of knowledge is a good thing. You should have an open mind, be willing to listen to things. I mean, I'm a nurse and in the military by trade, and here I am
doing a podcast,
recording a
absolutely.
podcast. You just have to be open to the idea that, hey, maybe I'm going to try this out. Cool. If I try it out and it fails, nah.
Yep.
All right, but at least I had a blast. Interviewing people, sitting down, having a good time.
Yep.
Or if you're having the DJ thing, like if I did it, okay, I might have failed the first time.
Yeah.
But you kind of rebuild that back up. But if you had to point to, so you made that transition, right? You decided, hey, I was going to leave college. Now I'm going to try to open this, my own DJ thing. What was it like in those early couple of months? And are there points where you're like, oh, crap, I made the wrong decision? Kind of like that buyer's remorse kind of syndrome?
Yeah, there has been a few where I was like, man, is this the right decision or not? But to kind of retrace, so transitioning, kind of the whole little short background story. So again, I worked for a DJing company for 2 or 3 years and then went out on my own. And when I went out on my own, I saved up a couple $1,000, but I went out, purchased a brand new SUV, and then had to purchase all equipment and everything like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I went from having no bills to now paying like $1,000 a month for bills. And to me at the time, going out on your own, you're like, holy crap, like this is nuts. But when it started going, and I push myself, and I will not see myself lose. And I'm the type of person, when I really essentially, once I became an adult, I like to be more money. I wasn't reliant on my parents as much. I mean, sure, they helped me out definitely with multiple different things and this and that, but I wasn't someone who was like, okay, I'm just going to rely on my parents for this week for money or whatever. Like, no, like I wanted to go out, make my own money because I have that kind of pride, you know, like you don't, you know, you have your own pride to make your own income. And so, you know, the money started coming in, and it worked out. It was working out or whatnot. I had a few times where I was like, man, I don't know if this is really necessarily what I want to do, but it was just me for all of last year, for 2017. And then this past year, I started bringing on guys. I have now 4 or 5 guys that work for me, actually getting ready to hire a 5th guy. For me, it was just that like willingness to not want to lose. And I had a lot of bookings that people were booking weddings for me. So when I went out on my own, I had about probably 20 or 30 weddings already booked that I kind of booked like while I was working for that company. And I knew that they were going to be coming up in 2017. So I knew that money was going to be coming in, but it was still scary because until that money comes in and until it's in your face, then you're now I have 110% confidence. I'm never worried if I go out and spend a couple $1,000s, you know, on equipment or whatever. It doesn't scare me now. But that's because we've gotten things up and rolling. But as opposed to, you know, when I first started, man, that was freaky. I mean, that was scary. I mean, for a kid for a 22-year-old, 23-year-old, you know, that just got done, you know, with, going to college, but not getting his degree, but going to college, you know, spending that kind of money at one time is like, holy crap, man. Like that's a lot of money. But the transition was actually pretty smooth for the most part. The one thing is that I had a 1-year no compete clause, which is why people ask me all the time, why don't you play at Jerseys and you know, in Belden or whatnot? And the reason being is because I had a 1-year no compete clause. So I had to essentially start from the bottom. I had to go out, purchase my own equipment, which I purchased all different equipment than what the company that I used to work for, and bought all different equipment. I had to buy my own music, which was huge because at the time I had absolutely no music. I had to purchase essentially everything. Spent probably a little over, I mean, between the car and the equipment, probably a little over $30,000, like within the matter of like a couple months. And it's like, and at that time, you're like, wow, this is a big gamble. But, you know, you pay things off, you play it smart, you put them on like cards to where you can pay them off. You know, you don't make too big of purchases right away with like just cash or just off of your debit card or whatever.
Right.
But I played it smart, and luckily I had the right leaders behind me that were like, hey, do it this way, do it that way, blah, blah, blah. And then it got up and going, really got up and going. And now I'm at the point where my head's spinning because I am constantly getting bookings for bars, clubs, private events. Weddings are huge. Weddings are my biggest thing. We do a ton of weddings, but last year I did, I think 42 weddings last year, and for my first year being out on my own. And this year I have 38, or I'm sorry, this year I booked over, I think I had 65. About 10 or 15 of those were my guys going out and doing those for this year, and then the rest of about 50 or 52 of those were me doing the weddings. But next year I already have 30. Been lucky enough to have 38 weddings booked, and
that's not even.
And 38 for me, and then I already have 10 for my other employees, so 48 altogether already, and we're a little over halfway through the year. So it's truly a blessing. everything has been such a blessing. I have just been really, really fortunate to know the right people in the industry, have great supportive friends and family. And now that it's funny because, back to when my dad said, you sure about this? Now my dad's like, holy smokes, like he's like, man, I'm going to retire from Cisco and start coming and DJing for you, which is just kind of, it would be hysterical to see. Probably be like Def Leppard and stuff all night long.
That'd be hilarious, yeah.
But no, I mean, I really didn't have. I had some point. I had a few points definitely that were like, man, are you sure you really want to do this? But you pick yourself right back up, and I mean, it's a hustle. It's day and night a hustle. And it really honestly is. I wake up in the morning, I answer text messages, emails, and people think like, oh, you're a DJ, you just work at night. Yeah, Instagram DMs and stuff like that. People asking for bookings and everything. And I don't have a receptionist. So for me, I have to answer all the phone calls.
Right.
So I essentially am obviously the owner and then the DJ and then also now the receptionist as well. So I answer all the phone calls and emails and texts and the bookings and this and that. So people think like, oh, you DJ, you just work at nighttime. No, I work every minute of the day. You can even ask my beautiful girlfriend. She lives with me up in the Falls, and sometimes she's like, you need to like kind of step away from your phone, just kind of chill out for a second because I'm just constantly working.
Yeah, I get that. I get that from people all the time where I started this up, right? Sure. And like I was talking to you before all this went down, like when I first started this, I was just some kid posting blog posts on Facebook.
Sure.
And it just kind of started growing from there, but I would get done with class at Walsh trying to finish up my nursing degree with a minor in psychology, which it's hard enough to do a nursing degree at Walsh University, let alone trying to add on something.
Right.
So doing that and then coming home after a 12-hour clinical day and sitting down and say, hey, I'm going to try to write an article, or I'm going to read this book. I'm going to start highlighting this. I'm going to start trying to build up that knowledge basis to where I'm able to quote things, point back to references that people can use when they're looking at these leadership concepts and stuff like that, where it's a constant. People think that it's just coming into the recording studio and sitting down across from somebody and just talking.
Right.
But I legitimately probably spent about an hour and a half creeping on you.
Right.
To, gain a background where I was like, okay, what kind of questions can I ask this guy?
Right.
Because he has this enigma of like a successful DJing business that he started up, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to creep through your Instagram all the way to like the first picture that was ever posted.
Creep.
Find your quote, you know what I mean, off of your website and stuff like that. And that takes time.
Yeah,
you have to be able to do that after you get off of work or on the weekends. And my roommate all the time is like, man, you need to like take a break. You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're like 35.
Right.
And I was like, but it's a passion, you know what I mean? And if you find something that you're passionate about, I don't know if it's the same thing for you, where I'm sure that some of the medial tasks feels like work, but when you're actually doing the DJing thing, I would almost wager 100% that it doesn't feel like you're working. It does not
feel like working, right? You're correct. 110% correct. As far as like the DJing aspect, whether it be weddings, it is work. It's not as simple as just press and play and then picking your butt the rest of the night.
Right.
Like you are actually
I'm sure
you are up and moving around.
Gross.
Yeah, she would probably get a bad review on Facebook or something. But yeah, no, weddings are definitely like, you don't feel like it is crazy because I don't necessarily feel like I'm at work. I'm not going and sitting at a desk or, whatever in my cubicle and working like we talked about earlier, like a 9 to 5 typical job. So it doesn't necessarily feel like work, but it is a job when it comes to definitely for the weddings. A few private events here and there that you really kind of got to work for a lot more. Bars and clubs for the most part are pretty easy. It's essentially just showing up with equipment, and putting on a good show for whoever's there. But back to even like when we were talking about like just doing laundry or whatever, and a task or accomplishing your small little tasks, that also builds into the momentum of even DJing. Like if I'm, if I just sit around all day and don't do anything, then I'm going to usually have a crappy show that night because I haven't been doing anything, and like I feel like I got to have my mind. I always have to be doing something. And that's just the way that I am. I'm not just, sitting at home. I have a lot of buddies, love playing video games. Nothing against video games. I love video games, but do I have time to play them? Absolutely not.
I have, yeah. Absolutely I just bought my first video game in 8 years. Wow. And it was the latest God of War game that came out because I played the original one way back in the day when it first came out. And I was like, oh, this is kind of a little bit nostalgic for me. Like, I'll get it. And then I stole my brother's PS4 to play it because I refused to buy a game system because I was like, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to finish the campaign. I'm going to give it to my brother for half of what I bought it for and then give him his PS4 back. And I haven't played a single game since. But for that, 30 plus hours of gameplay, I was pretty drooling on myself almost.
Yeah, and you do. And then you get caught up and then you're like, oh shoot, it's already 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like I haven't accomplished anything. But no, I have to constantly be moving or doing something. I'm telling you, for example, yesterday I was on the phone with 5 new brides, I think I booked 2 or 3 already of them. I think they're already fully committed, but I was on the phone with all 5. Well, when I get on the phone with the bride and groom, I'm not your call in to me and I just give you my pricing and then just leave you out to dry. And then you have a ton of questions. I like to actually talk to a bride and groom, or usually oftentimes it's a bride, because let's be honest, fellas, we don't really we don't do much of the planning for the wedding day. But
right. Yeah,
but
happy wife, happy life.
Right. So, but for the brides, when they give me a call, when they're looking for, availability and this and that, I like to be on the phone with them for around 20 to 30 minutes. And I kind of, obviously I'm a talker. You guys can tell that right now, but I talk their ear off a little bit just because I want them to know exactly what kind of service they're getting for their wedding day. Mm-hmm. And, when you're spending well over $1,000 plus for someone to come in and do your wedding, I would like to know what the heck I'm getting, as far as if I was spending that much money on a service for my wedding day, I want to know exactly what I'm getting. So I like to explain that to all of them and kind of give them the whole rundown of what they get with my service and whatnot. But, so having 5 calls all at about 20 minutes to a half hour all throughout the day, plus also going and running and errands and everything. It's great because I don't go to a 9-to-5 job. So during the day, if I have to, I can go to the grocery store or whatever, do the little knick-knack stuff, which is really nice.
You're also probably sometimes I know I'll get calls from people and I'll be walking around Giant Eagle getting groceries.
Yes.
And I'm talking to people while I'm shopping.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get that. I got a text message on my way here, hey, how can I make payments and this and that on our balance. And, you'll get stuff like that. But I usually like to try and plan out my, hey, can I give you a call at, 1 p.m. or whatever. And then I'll kind of have to then adjust my schedule for the rest of the day around the phone calls, which some people might think it'd be annoying, but it's really not too bad as long as you don't overload too many phone calls in one day. Then you feel like you're a robot. And
you're
saying
on
the same things every single.
And that's actually a principle that we kind of use in nursing. It's just called task grouping, where if you're going to go into a patient's room, do as many things together as possible. First off, so that you're not annoying the patient by coming in and out of the room 400 times, but also because of efficiency. If you get all that stuff done, it frees you up for another patient or to help another nurse.
Sure.
And actually, Tim Ferriss talks about it where he's like, I only record on Mondays and Fridays, or I pick 2 days out of the week and those are my recording days. and I dedicate the entire day to recording content, coming up with new content, writing stuff. And it puts me in a mindset and a place where I'm able to do that. And then the rest of the week, I set out blocks of time that this is for management stuff.
Sure.
This is for accounting stuff. This is for this. And it allows you to get into that. Like you said, before you get into a show, you have to get into a mental state.
Right.
It allows you to get into that mental place where you're not trying to squirrel and you're like, oh my God, I'm on the phone, but what did I forget? Do I need to buy towels? I think I need to buy towels.
Right.
And then you're scattered, and then nobody gets the best version of yourself.
Right.
So I don't really cuss on this podcast too much, but for the sake of the quote, I'm going to throw out a word.
Sure.
But my grandpa always used to say, like, you never half-ass two things, you whole-ass one thing.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people think that you can't divide and conquer and dedicate 100% focus to each one of those things, but you can if I'm going to dedicate 100% of time to this right now. Half an hour from now, I'm going to dedicate 100% of my effort to this.
Right.
Instead of taking an hour and trying to do both simultaneously.
Right.
You're probably going to get more done if you say, okay, I'm just going to split that hour in half an hour for this, half an hour for that.
Full focus.
Focus.
Yep, absolutely. And that's you have to be. I mean, you got to be. And that's I would without a doubt say that's how I roll with my life. Like when I'm focused on one thing, like I'm here now, like I'm focused on this. Like I don't like nothing else really necessarily is going through my mind as far as like the whole, bookings or DJing or whatever. I'll answer phone calls and whatnot later once my phone's off airplane mode.
Right.
But no, you're right. I mean, and you definitely should, because I'm the type of person to where rather it be anything, coming in, doing a wedding, doing a bar, club, or whatever, I'm always going to give you 110% effort. That's just who I am.
Right.
I'm always going to give you 110% effort. But yeah, you need to stay focused on just one thing at a time if you can, and not try and do, like you said, like half but everything else, half but, two things, as opposed to focus on one thing, get that done. Once you're done with that, okay, clean the dishes, get the dishes done. Okay, now we go over to laundry. We're not trying to do both at the same time.
Right. Yeah, because then your dishes end up with little specks of food on it. And your laundry's not completely clean.
Right. My lady's mad, and then I'm like, oh, darn it. No, I'm just kidding.
Here we go. And now I'm in the dog house. And
I don't get in the dog house with her. She's awesome. Man. She's great. She's an awesome woman. But
I mean, you've been doing weddings for a while now, right?
Yep.
What was it? I'm curious because I would never be able to stand behind that booth. As much as I stand in front of large groups of people and talk, like on my installation, I'm in charge of training recruits before they leave for basics. So I stand in front of a group of anywhere from 30 to 50, like 18-year-olds that are like, teach me the ways of the Air Force, like every month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't freak me out.
Right.
But like being at somebody's wedding, I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, when I first...
Do you remember what that was like versus now? Like, what would that comparison look like?
Yeah, so, a comparison is night and day. It's a night and day difference. First of all, when you go to do weddings, you have to be comfortable on the microphone. That's the biggest thing. Anybody can press play and play music and whatnot. And there's a lot more to it. People think that that's just all it is. I promise you there's a lot more to just pressing play. There's actually a flow and a transition, and there's a way of going about doing genres of music and whatnot all throughout the night. But anyways, that's getting sidetracked. But as far as talking on the microphones when I first started, I mean, I definitely when I first did my first wedding, I was like sketched out because not sketched out, but I was just very scared. I was nervous. I was like, man, do not mess up the bride and groom's name. Don't mess it up. Don't mess up because I was comfortable on the microphone, but I'm not nearly, I mean, now I'll say whatever. It's just like, when you talk into a microphone, it's just like you and I talking back and forth to each other. That's the same way.
Yep.
And one thing that kind of always helped me is to not look at the people or the audience, or pick people out and look at them or stare at them while you're talking, but look at look at the ceiling, or look off into at something that's not the crowd. Because when you start looking at the crowd and maybe their reactions to what you're saying and like being like subconscious about that, then that's when you start to then think without you start
to get inside your own head.
yeah, in your own head, and then you're like, oh man, and then you like kind of start stuttering or whatever. And so, when I first started doing weddings, yes, I was much more nervous. Now, no, it's a cakewalk. It's a cakewalk. I have done weddings now
Like
for
a wedding cakewalk.
well,
No,
yeah,
too
like a
bad.
wedding cakewalk. Yeah, there you go, there you go. But all right,
That was
but,
horrible. I apologize to everybody for that.
but no, there. As far as walking in and doing someone's wedding, I feel just as comfortable going in and doing someone's wedding as I do going and playing at a bar or club. And it's just, I've done this now. I've done a little over 200 weddings now, and so for me, I'm like, this is easy.
Right.
But to a lot of people, it would be like, holy crap, like what if I mess up?
Well, I'm sure if I got 200 weddings deep at that point, I'd
Yeah,
like,
you'd be
what?
like, yeah,
I'm
that's
good.
easy.
Yeah, because
Right.
so if we flip flopped and I forced you to come in, put on a uniform, and then try to teach people leadership concepts about what it means to wear the uniform and like how to lead in the military and stuff like that, I'm
be
sure
lost.
you'd be like, yeah, like a colonel would come in and stare at you, you'd be like, oh god, hi,
Sure.
sir,
Yeah.
But if you did that 200 times.
Yeah, you'd be
Then,
like, this
we'd be
is
comfortable.
easy.
That's something that people get discouraged about really easy on, or like really not really easy, really early on in endeavors, because they're like, oh, wow, like I'm never going to be good at this. I suck at this. But 50 tries in, I'm getting
Right.
a little bit better. 100 things in,
Right.
I'm
Getting
good.
better.
200 things in, I'm great at this.
Yep. And that's what people have to understand is that it's just like, again, back to the sports reference. You're not going to just pick up a basketball and become Michael Jordan. You have to practice. You have to practice. You have to practice. You have to practice. Even though going and doing someone's wedding isn't, I guess it's kind of in a way it's practice, but you also need to be on your A game. But it's reputation or repetition. It's doing it more. Like you said, the more and more you do it, the better and better you get. So for me, going in really to any show, I haven't done a show where I felt like, ooh, I don't know about this one in a long time.
Yeah.
Just because I have done nursing home events. I've played to little first and second and third graders. I have done Sweet 16s. I've done weddings. I do bars and clubs. I've done, all sorts of different things. Like in August, coming up here in August, I'm going and doing like a event at the Dogwood Pool right down the street here. Dogwood Pool in North Canton. I'm playing just for like the public and stuff like that. And just different things, I've all sorts of stuff, man. All sorts of kind of crazy stuff that I was like, man, are you sure you even need a DJ for this? But people, hey, if you want to have a DJ for a private event or whatever, and you want me to be there, I will be there.
And be willing to like step outside of that box. Where
Yeah.
you're just like, nope, I do weddings,
Right.
and clubs, You know what
Right.
I mean, and you can pull. I call it like the circle of you almost, where me sitting here isn't me doing all a bunch of research into podcasting and how to interview people and whatever else. It's me growing up in the country, me being in 4-H,
Yep.
me going through all the crap that I went through in high school, me joining the military, me going to nursing school.
Yep.
And like all of this kind of forms this circle where I'm able to take all of that experience and dump it onto a mic.
Right.
And then with DJing, it's like, okay, I've done first and second, third graders. I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. And all of that comes into me being a awesome wedding DJ
Right.
or an awesome bar or club DJ.
Right. And that's the thing that makes me a little bit more unique from a lot of these people, or a lot of these, not these people, but a lot of these DJs out there. Oftentimes you will find, and this even speaks for my company as well. And what I am starting with premium entertainment, my company is I'm trying to get guys to not only just be bar and club DJs, but to also be wedding DJs, to also be able to go out and do all sorts of different kind of events. There's a lot of companies out there, won't name any, but there's a lot of DJing companies out there who just do the wedding industry and they don't know anything. They don't know the bar and club industry, or there's a lot of just bar and club DJs that would have they can say they've done weddings or that they do weddings. They don't do it. They do it, or they've done a wedding, but they don't know how the professional way of it being done is. They don't know the right way of it being done. And I'm sorry, but they just don't. But a lot of the bar and club DJs, because DJing can be such a hobby and can be like such a like second job to a lot of people. Some people just do it for, the love of it. And I do love DJing, and I really do. I love DJing and I love music, but I also have to treat this as a business. And it's also my way of living. So if I have to pay bills, this is how I pay my bills. Right. So I also have to treat it very much business-like as well. I have to make money. I have to. I'm not just that, 20-year-old college boy that if he goes and does, a show and makes 50 or whatever, $100 or whatever, a little, like when I first started, very, very, very first started, and I was like with the company that I worked for, I was just happy to get out and play. Now it's like, yeah, I'm happy to get out and play, and I love to play, and I'm blessed to be able to get out and, entertain and whatnot, but I also need to be paid as well. But that comes with, owning a company. I mean, I have to, I have to.
Yeah, you have to cover your bills.
Yeah, I got bills. But
it's just a blessing to be able to cover your bills doing something that you love doing.
Yeah, that exactly. And it's awesome. And like you said earlier, it's like I don't even, and I do work, and I work my butt off. I'm telling you, I promise you. Oh my gosh, ask my lady, man. If anyone, my lady she knows the most. She by now knows my whole company in and out. She could run my company if, God forbid, like I ever passed away or whatever, and she could run it, man. I'll tell you what, she's awesome. But as far as I got sidetracked here. As far as the like business and treating it like a business, like you have to be able to do that, because I have, like we said, I have bills and I have stuff. Like I've had people in the past, they don't really do it now because they realize like, okay, he's very much so legit now and this is what he's doing for a living. But like back when I worked for that company, I had people that were kind of like thinking that I was just doing this for just fun, and I really didn't know what I was going to be getting out of it. I didn't know that I was going to be a DJ when I first started. Like I didn't know I was going to be doing this for a living. But they were thinking that like, hey, can we come in and or can you come and play for us for like essentially free? And it's like at that time, like maybe like I could have done like something like a house party or something like that. Friends are having a house party or whatever. Yeah, sure. But now it's like, no, man, like I gotta make a living. Like you gotta pay me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it truly has been a blessing this whole year. Everything has been such a blessing. And I'm so thankful for meeting the thousands of people that I've met. And that's another cool thing about DJing as opposed to like a 9-to-5 job is like I get to meet thousands of people like weekly, and all sorts of different kinds of people. And if you think about it, a lot of, you'll get a lot of like your millionaires or celebrities or anybody that's big in the name, has a big name for themselves. They come into bars and clubs. Because they like to go out and they like to drink or whatever. So you have those connections that you get that you can't really get if you were working a 9-to-5 job and then just coming back home. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it really puts you in a unique situation. DJing has no limits. There are no limits in this industry. There's no like, if you wanted to make $100 million in a year, DJing, like it's possible. Yes, it's very hard, but it's possible. It's not. I'm not like there's no roof. There's no roof with this, and that's what is really neat about it. Because I'm like someone who wants to be at the top, the very top of everything, and I'm not even remotely close. But I can at least in my head strive for that. Yeah,
right. And that's the difference. That's the difference maker. Like that key factor right there, I think is the difference maker between a lot of whether it's working out, dieting, starting a podcast,
Right.
being a DJ, being a nurse, using that degree, whatever. If you can condition your mind to strive to that, be that, oh, well, people, only 1% of people make this much in this field. If you can at least strive to want to be one of those 1%, you might land in the top 10%.
Right.
And that's still awesome.
That's still awesome.
But
right.
if you are like, hey, I'm going to strive to be in the top 10%, you might land in the top 30. Or, oh, I want to be better than half the people. You got a 50-50 shot.
Right,
You know?
right.
So
right.
the farther down you go on that aspiration ladder,
Right.
the lower, like you can't achieve a high dream without shooting high.
Right. Right.
Like if you're just going to shoot low consistently, yeah, you might hit over and over and over and over again. I actually think that's a quote. I mean, that's a quote that a lot of motivational speakers use, is like, it's not the people that shoot high and miss. It's people that shoot low and hit
Yep.
that stay stagnant.
Yep. Yeah.
Because to everybody else, it's like, oh yeah, he's being successful. Boom, 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 boom. But if it's something that you know you're really good at and you're going to hit 100% of the time, are you actually growing?
Right.
Are you actually achieving anything?
Right.
Or are you just kind of
just being
sitting there?
stagnant.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're just sitting there.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, I mean, and that's definitely something that I'm not even remotely being cool with, because I am not someone that likes to be stagnant. I'm not someone that likes to be just, hey, not to be just, average. I hate being average. Absolutely hate it. I'm not someone that wants to just only make, that just, wants to make only a certain amount of money. I have a dollar figure in my head, but I don't want to say it over the podcast, but I don't want to be just average. I want to be above that. It's
Right.
just something that, and it's not that it makes you a better person or that it is anything like that. It's just not. It's just that the reason why I hustle so hard, and this is the honest to God truth, the reason why I hustle so hard is because, a couple of reasons, but the main one is because whenever I go to have a family, my beautiful lady now that I'm with, will be someday my wife, without a doubt. And I love her to death. And she's an amazing, amazing person. And the people that are close with me and her, everyone that knows her knows that she's an amazing person. But I hustle because I want to be able to support not only her, but to be able to support our children someday. And that's a big thing. And so for me, to start that young and to start my Roth and to start my 401k and to start having a life savings plan and to have all this different stuff, that's a really big deal to me because I want my children to live comfortably. I don't want us to ever have to worry about money or anything like that. And even though we don't have children and we don't plan to have children for quite, a while or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, for a while. I mean, I'm 25. I'm still young. I hustle because I'm trying to plan for that, for our future, whether it be buying our house, having to be the minivan dad. No, anything. And that's what but that's why I hustle now, because I'm young and I have the energy to do it. So why
Right.
not do it?
Why not go out there?
Why
Yeah,
not
give it a shot?
Yeah. Why not go and do 50 weddings in a year? Most, people, excuse me, these DJs in their 40s and 50s that are still doing it, that still do, weddings and whatnot. They don't do 50 weddings in a year just because they don't probably have the time. They don't have the energy, but I have that energy. So I'm going to do it now and knock out as many as I possibly can and do a great job and go out and book as many shows as I possibly can, because later on in life, I know that I won't have the energy to do it. And I'm not saying that when I turn 40 or 50, I want to still be DJing, because that's not the case at all.
Right.
That's not the case at all. By then, I'll have this company up and running and then hopefully own a couple other companies. That's definitely what the goal is. But yeah, I mean,
DJ Wolfe in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. That's right. Yeah, I just, man, I just don't like settling. Like I'm just constantly booking stuff, constantly everything. My alarm just went off on my phone. I don't know if y'all could hear that, but my alarm just went off on my phone because it was setting a reminder to call someone. And I have to meet with someone here in a little bit. But it's just things like that, man, that you're just like, it's crazy because it's crazy that I have to set like 5-6 alarms every day, and I have to label my alarms like to let me know, like, hey, you got to do this, you got to get this done, you got to do this, you got to do this. Like it's just nuts. It really is insane. I keep telling Veronica, I keep telling her, I really need to hire a receptionist. I really need someone to just answer all my emails and phone calls and stuff. That would be really nice. But.
Right. So to kind of, I think that was, that little monologue kind of right there is just, like I said, DJ Wolfe in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of every podcast, I like to give the guest just open floor. Not that you haven't had open floor this entire time, but if there was something, whether it's giving advice to a younger version of you, or it's somebody trying to get into your field, or somebody starting out, maybe is struggling because their parents are like, why are you dropping out of school? Or why are you doing this? Right. Questioning their decisions and stuff like that. Just as a closing kind of thing, what advice would you offer my listeners?
If essentially you want to be like successful, is that what you're saying essentially? Pretty much.
From your perspective, right?
Yeah. And I, don't get me wrong, for all the people that are listening or that do listen to this, I am doing well for myself. I still have a lot more in my life to accomplish and a lot more goals to achieve. But I will say I'm doing pretty darn good right now, and I'm going at a good pace, and things are going really well. But that could also go very south very quickly. But my advice to younger people, yes, you can, and it's so cliche, but it's honest to God truth. Yes, you can know the right people, and that does help, and this and that. But I'll tell you what, I also know a lot of the right people, but those people also won't also put you in the positions that you need to be put in order to succeed, or maybe they have no connection with what you want to do for your life. So my biggest thing to people is don't stop. Like, don't stop. If you want to do something and achieve something, whether it be whatever it may be, just don't stop. One of the best motivational speakers is, and I advise everyone that's listening to this to listen to him as well, is I believe his name is Eric Thomas. Mm-hmm. Eric Thomas or yep. Thompson. Yeah, Eric Thomas. Yep. Yeah. For when I went out on my own and opened up this company for about, seriously, and this is not just me saying this and it didn't happen. Like, no, I really did this. For about like 2 or 3 months straight, I watched Eric Thomas videos, and I'd watch him over and over and over and over again. And he's got a lot of really, really, really good things to say, and he's very motivational. And if it takes even maybe waking up in the morning and watching a motivational speech just to maybe kind of get your mindset on how am I going to succeed today? What do I need to do today to succeed and to better myself? Then do it. Then take the couple minutes out of your day and in the morning when you wake up in bed, instead of getting on your phone and checking social media, watch those videos and motivate yourself for the day and push yourself. And don't stop. Don't stop. People get caught up in video games. They get caught up in sitting around watching TV. They get caught up in whatever, and that's fine. And I'm not telling people to not relax. You should relax for your own mind, but relax once you've gotten your stuff done. Do your job, do your household chores or whatever you got to do every single day, your homework, whatever you got to do it, get it over with, and then relax. Then you can relax. Everyone goes on vacation in life to get away from their job that they just got done working their butt off for.
Right.
And that's kind of your reward. So reward yourself at the end of the night, maybe with relaxation or coming out to see DJ Wolfe. But that's my biggest spiel to people. Do not stop and find the motivation every day to wake up and to find something that you want to succeed at, and that, whether it be anything, job, whatever, and whatever you do, don't quit. Have trust in yourself. Be smart about things. Be respectful to people, because you never know who you're going to run into. And treat everyone, I know it's, again, cliche, but treat everyone, the way that you like to be treated, and have respect for everyone. Respect is a really, really big thing. But, yeah, I mean, that's what I would say to younger people is don't give up. Don't quit. You really gotta find that motivation in your heart, and whatever it is. Sometimes I listen to music and it motivates, or actually not sometimes, but a lot of times music motivates me. So that's just something to, however your way of getting that motivation is, do that maybe and start that in the morning, and then push yourself the entire day. But,
right.
Yeah, but definitely don't stop.
Rock on. So if somebody got to the end of a day that they were super excited about and driven, and they got a whole bunch of stuff done, and they wanted to come see DJ Wolfe, where would they be able to find, like, you can shout, like, what's your website, your Instagram, stuff like that? Where can we find information about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can check out my website, which is bookdjwolf that's my email. But email is bookdjwolf@yahoo.com. Bookdjwolf.com is going to be my website. You guys can find me on Instagram at DJWolf330, or you can find my Facebook page, which is just going to be DJ Wolfe, and now it's spelled like the animal wolf, so don't add an E at the end. But yeah, so you could find me there. Play a lot in Akron, Canton area, play in Cleveland a little bit. Trying to kind of work on that whole transition of going more so up into Cleveland, and playing up there as far as bar and club industry goes. Yeah, I mean, we really play all over the place. Right now we got Karma Cafe in Akron, in downtown Akron, which is right across the street from Rubber Duck Stadium. We play at Barley House in Akron, which is right next to Rubber Duck Stadium as well. We also play at Shots in the Valley, down in Merriman Valley in Akron. We also play at Lobies in Canton, which is another great bar. And then we're hoping to pick up, I'm trying to think where else we play at. We play a little bit at Lazy Gator and Woody's, which is also located at in the Valley as well, down in Merriman Valley. And we're hoping to pick up quite a few more, because I can only handle so many accounts with so many, with 4 or 5 guys. So, but we're gonna be. I'll tell you what, man. I think that by the end of next year, I think I'll have doubled my accounts. I really do. Awesome. I think I'll be able to double those accounts, get even. I think instead of having 4 or 5, I think we'll hopefully have around 10, and and then we'll keep going. Because I'm not gonna. I mean, heck, if I could supply a DJ for every single bar or club in the state of Ohio, I'll do it.
Good stuff.
I really don't. I don't care.
I hope it happens.
So, well, thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure. And for those of you listening, this has been another awesome episode. It's been a privilege to sit here and listen to you talk about, like, your growth and your journey and how you ended up where you are. This is what I love doing. Why I do, like what I do here.
Yep.
Being able to sit across from another human being that's driven and wanting to push themselves and get to cool places. So for the audience, thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of JJD Thoughts, The Apex.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Sweet. Cool.